We're now at the second stop. This is the one that had the reddish-brown rocks that seem to have layers. Take a look at these rocks and see what you see. As you look at these rocks, you can see they have layers. Some of the layers are sticking out from the rock and forming little ledges, and between them are little areas where the rock's weathering back. If you pick up samples of these, the rock that's forming the ledges looks like this. It's kind of a reddish-brown color. In detail, though, you can see that this rock has sand grains. This type of rock we call a sandstone. The other rock is much finer grained. It's forming little chips, and when you look at this rock, you can't really see grains in it. This type of rock we call a siltstone. When you see a rock that has layers, it means that the environment changed with time. Sometimes the environment was such that it was depositing sand. At other times it was depositing silt, and those two environments kind of alternated back and forth to make this sequence of layers. A sandstone like this, that's forming the little ledges, that's usually deposited in this particular place by rivers, by like a stream that floods and it deposits a little bit coarser material. Between the floods, or if the channel's elsewhere, the waters come out of the channel and deposit a fine layer of silt on the floodplain, and that's represented by these layers that are thinner, forming little chips and recessed into the outcrop. Although this unit has both sandstones and siltstones, we think it's a related sequence of rocks, and so as geologists we would treat these as a single unit. We would not try to map each individual layer in here. We'd just say there's a unit of sandstones and siltstones, and we combine those two as a single thing. To talk about the broader context of this area, I've got some geologic cross-sections that we drew. And what you can see is there are a whole series of what we call tilted fault blocks, where the units are tilted and they're bounded by faults. The faults are inclined towards the northeast and the units are tilted back towards the southwest. And so that's what we see here. That's to the southwest, and if there were faults in here, they would be like this. There aren't any faults right here, but you can see the units are tilted. For an even broader context, we can look at how this geology here relates to the South Mountains, which is the next mountain range south of Phoenix. And what we have is a very large fault in the South Mountains, and these rocks below it have been pulled out here to the southwest, and the rocks above broke into all these little tilted fault blocks. And so you can kind of go from this large scale setting to a setting that's more like Papago Park to what do we actually see in the rocks. At this site we also have a contact between the tilted sandstones and siltstones and the flat area, which represents the unconsolidated material that was deposited by the Salt River.